Hello and welcome to the Stretch Yourself, the Empowerment Podcast. This is the show for entrepreneurs and people that are all about staying focused and engaging on improving their relationships in business and in life. And on this episode, do you have a problem creating more joy and greater balance in life? Meaning, are you finding the joy in your relationships in business and in life by increasing your self-awareness and facing your fears? Well, that's exactly what we're going to help you with on this week's show, where you'll learn how to define your joy, create greater balance, and move away from toxic relationships to achieve more in your relationships. Today's guest on the Empowerment Podcast is Dr. Carla Manley. As a clinical psychologist, author, and advocate, Dr. Manley is passionate about helping others create the lives of their dreams. Dr. Manley believes there is no topic too big or too small to address head on. From offering guidance for her healing stress, anxiety, and depression, Dr. Manley finds it a pleasure to offer insights even on the most challenging topics. Her new book, which I'm so excited to talk about, and we're going to talk about it on the show, is Joy from Fear. It talks about fear and explains that fear is not the enemy we thought it was. Fear, when faced with awareness, is a powerful ally and a best friend we all need. Dr. Carla, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes. And so we was just talking, just quite briefly when we started out warming up for the show, and you told me that you are a meditation certified for meditation and a yoga practitioner. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I'm a yoga leader. I teach yoga once a week at a drug and alcohol rehab center. I teach meditation once a week at a drug and alcohol rehab center. I am also a yoga teacher. Meditation and yoga are both really important parts of my life.
Oh, great. So let's just dig back because, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I love the juicy juice and I like to know where people found their passion. And you are a clinical psychologist. What made you go down that avenue and pursue that career?
Good question. It started for me back in third grade. A teacher I wanted to be when I grew up. And I spontaneously answered, I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be like Lucy and Charlie Brown. So something in me knew at that very early age that was going to be an important part of my life. And my journey's not been linear. I attained my teaching credential in college and then my master's in counseling, and then was in the business world for 20 years in the investment realm, and then returned to school to obtain my doctorate and built on my master's, and that's where the psychologist in me finally came to life.
Oh, wow. So, but it started as you was a little kid. That is just totally awesome. I love to hear those stories where people have tried and overcame, well, not really tried, but actually followed their passion. Most people are not really following their passion, so it's a great thing to hear. So let's just delve right into it. So great question. How can I learn from my fears? Because there's a lot of people out there that does not learn from their fears and they actually hide away from those things. So I just wanted to expound on that, including myself, because everybody knows in the Stretch Yourself Empowerment Podcast listeners, they know I like to be a guinea pig. And so I want to use myself as a guinea pig on this episode. And so how can I learn from my fears?
Okay, so I'll get right into it with you. First, I'll say that I work with fear. A lot of people say, hey, overcome your fear or ignore your fear or push through your fear. I say something slightly different, and the difference is actually very meaningful. It's about notice your fear, inspect your fear, walk toward your fear, see what it has to say to you. And often we don't take those steps to move toward the fear. We run from it. We get stuck. We hide, just said. And when you approach fear in a sort of friendly and curious way, it's a really beautiful way of disarming fear and investigating. I found in life and in my work with clients, and you will be the guinea pig in just a minute,
yes,
that when we do that sort of dance with fear and snuggle up close to it and talk to it, that there is always a message inside, always a message that will lead us to be our better selves. always.
Oh, wow. Wow. So my fears is, and since, I was looking at your book, Joy from Fear. Of course, that's coming out in April 1st. And no, this is not a shameless plug. I am plugging it. Uh, and so I said, I'm going to write down my three biggest fears. And so
Okay.
what happened was when I started dissecting and I started going back and I started looking at things that was a fear, I found out it wasn't really a fear at all. Um, and I came to the conclusion that my only fear is regret. Some things that I fear, like things that's happened or a situation that's happened, and I'm fearful for an outcome. Is that what you address, or is it just a bigger fear than that?
So let's get into it then.
Uh oh.
I know, now the spotlight's on you. So give me one of your fears.
You know, that's probably my biggest fear. And one of my fears one of my fears is acceptance. I'm fearful of not being accepted from.
There you go. Okay. So then I would say to you, because first, before we step into this territory, I want to differentiate. There are some fears that are valid, what I call realistic fears.
Okay.
The fear that, you're going down a dark alley and somebody will mug you. The fear that the neighbor's dog who's bitten you before will bite you again.
Definitely have that fear.
Realistic fears.
Yes, that's
right?
realistic.
Fear that if I stick my hand in the fire, I will get burned, right?
Yes.
The other fears are irrational fears.
Okay.
And the fear of not being accepted is usually, although not always, usually an irrational fear. Walking into that party and thinking the spotlight's on you, or that you're going to give a speech and that nobody will like you and that everybody will, reject you. Those are irrational fears. So for you, when we look at Ron's fear of being accepted, what is your worst imagining of how you wouldn't be accepted?
Wow.
The worst possible getting right into the heart of it.
Yes, you are. It's my worst fear is to step out on a stage somewhere, or I'm trying to help someone and it's not genuinely received, or it's misinterpreted, or they didn't understand, and I'm just there, and it's just that awkward silence or that pause.
And you're on a stage, did you say, when this happens?
Yes.
Okay. So then I would tell you, as though I'm sitting next to you and you're my client or my friend and we're working through this fear, I'd say, great, Ron, say that happened. Say that that's where you are and you're on this stage and there are 5 million viewers and you reach to help someone and your efforts fall flat and you say something really stupid, right?
Yeah.
Or they just don't receive you. Can we deal with that? Can we make light of it? Can we get through that? Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes,
we can.
Yes, we can.
And we laugh at ourselves and the 5 million viewers and you say, wow, did I screw that one up? Anyone in the audience want to tell me how they could have done it better?
Oh, wow. I like that. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Man.
And so by looking at that, I used to think, oh, God, if I went out on stage and I tripped and fell, right? God, that'd be awful. And I thought, no, I'd get up and I'd say, wow, that was pretty funny. Hi, everyone. Who hasn't done that before? and I learned that from seeing a really great musician that I love. And he was on ever, so not his style. And instead of, feeling embarrassed by it, or maybe he was feeling embarrassed, he just made it known. He said, hey, these pants arrived. They're all I have. They fit me terribly. Go ahead. Everyone laugh at me. Let's just get it out.
Oh.
And the entire crowd laughed, commiserated with his funny pink and red pants that were way too tight. And it was then it was gone.
So, okay, you just gave me an aha moment. Everybody knows I get them. So it's basically just facing the elephant in the room. just like, let's just get it out of the way, get it over with, and then now I can be calm, and then I can address things that are more important, which is helping others.
Absolutely, because truth is, Ron, those people in that room came to see you. They wanted to see you, and most people have really good hearts and their own host of fears. And when we tie into humanity and what unites us all, which is that we're all broken, we're all imperfect, and we are all perfectly wonderful, right? And when we let people know that and are comfortable in our skin and normalize that we all make mistakes, we all have fears, and why let the fear control us? Instead, just treat it like a friend. Oh, I get you. Yeah, that's what we're really afraid of. Chances are it's not happening aren't very high, but if it does, we can get it. We're pals. Like that.
Wow, man, that's very, very insightful, and I'm sure the Stretch Yourself community will love to hear that. You just got to go ahead and just face that elephant and get it out of the way, and then you can address the matters at hand. But most times, people usually do get absorbed on those little things, and it just times them out, and it really just takes them out of either their professionalism or just takes them out of their courage, because they built the courage to get there, and then they lose it, and then they lose it for the rest of their life, and that's kind of disheartening. So man, that's some great advice. So man, that was great. Oh my God, I can go on and on with that, but I'm gonna move on to another question. So, you know, I know you as we take on a lot of clients, and we do a lot of different things with a lot of different people, interviews like this one on the Empowerment Podcast, and, different clients that we tackle and stuff. So what can I do to create a better balance in my life, a better balance of, and I don't want to say work life, because that's been just pounded into the ground, but how can I create a better balance in my life for myself, if that makes sense?
It makes perfect sense. And one of the things that I first ask people is to not compare yourself to anybody else.
Okay, no comparison.
Do we? No comparison. You are you, and every day your needs will fluctuate. So it's about tuning in. Overall, your needs will stay the same, right? But they'll fluctuate. And a really good example is myself. This weekend, I woke up, had a huge amount to accomplish Saturday and Sunday. And two things I do on the weekend, a Saturday yoga class for myself and a Sunday yoga class for myself.
Okay.
And my eyes were hurting and, a little fuzzy. And I was thinking, I'm still, it can't be anything. It's just my eyes. Here, I was coming down with a flu. But
wow.
I was so intent on doing what I thought I should be doing that I didn't recalibrate my weekend to say, wait a second, you're not feeling well, slow it down. Yes, you do this every weekend, but this weekend's not going to be one of those every weekend, right?
Yes.
So it's that, I know, and I really paid for it, because then come Sunday night, I'm not a couch person, I was flat on my back by 4:30, and had I listened on Saturday, right, to the little early, so that's what I tell people is really slow it down. Don't compare yourself to yourself or to other people. Look at what you need today. So that's the first thing. No comparisons, please. You are a unique human being, unlike anybody else, and your needs will change day to day. Listen to what you need. Second thing I tell people, and it's, along those same lines, is figure out if you're an introvert or an extrovert, and then honor it. I find that so many of my clients who come to me for stress, anxiety, depression, are introverts masking as extroverts.
Oh, wow.
And it just doesn't work. It's really taxing on the system. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Because I'm an extrovert, and sometimes I masquerade as an introvert, and I have to find myself, literally, I'll tell you, Dr. Manley, I have to step out and get around people and feel their energy and just be organic in that environment and just enjoy myself and compliment people, and just being me lifts my energy and my spirits. So I definitely agree with that. we do need that time away, but we do need to honor, like you said, honor what our personality is, whether you're an extrovert or you're an introvert. I definitely totally agree.
Right, and you're a perfect example of an extrovert. Some people don't know the difference, and the extrovert is the person who gets recharged by being around others. The introvert gets exhausted by too much time around others. And of course, you're not there. There are people. It's not one or the other. Some people are somewhere in the middle, being introverts and extroverts. But so in finding balance, it's key to know: am I generally an introvert or generally an extrovert? And so you can find out just by knowing that so many clues to how to create wellness in your life. And I'll stick with introverts for a minute because
Okay.
they're a little easier to look at this way. So for an introvert who goes out to work all day and has to socialize in the office and all of that, he or she that may be it for the day. That may be all the energy they have for the public, right?
Yes.
Whereas an extrovert will go to work, do work, and then be, hey, let's go to drinks, let's go to dinner, let's go exercise together. And the introvert's if the introvert's comparing him or herself to the extrovert, is going to get pulled in that direction, trying to be like everyone else. And do you see how when you get pulled, you get out of balance?
Yes.
Here, the introvert really needs to go home and rest, or go to, do sit-ups at home or yoga at home. But often introverts will get out of balance by trying to do what the extroverts are doing. And then that often leads, just a quick note on this, to substance abuse.
Oh, wow.
Where a lot of my clients will tell me, hey, I drink just to be okay in crowds. It's a social lubricant. Because they're introverts.
Wow.
And so a lot of people I work with who are on the cusp of, alcoholism or something in that realm have started on that journey as a result of getting out of balance with their natural tendency for introversion. So that's just a little bit on that part of the balance. And then once you know that you're not comparing yourself, and then you know, hey, I'm an introvert or an extrovert, and this is what I need in general, then it works out like this. You create the life, not that you want to live by a schedule necessarily, but schedules are really helpful. But it's about knowing, given my personality and my unique human being, what do I want in my life? And then sticking to that by creating healthy boundaries, not being willing or inclined to please everybody, but knowing that you will be your best self and you will have more to offer the people you love and the people in your world when you keep your boundaries clear and strong and engage in really good self-care. And what self-care looks like, you're an extrovert. Your self-care is going to involve plenty of doses of social time, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Whereas an introvert self-care might be curling up reading a book. So again, that's how we work toward creating balance, is knowing we must first know who we are and what our needs are. Then once we know that and take the time to figure out those elements, then it's about sticking to them.
Wow. Wow, man, you just lit up some light bulbs in my head about that balance. Because yes, I am that extrovert. I have to get out there. I love enjoying an occasional book. When I work out, I have a home gym, but I love getting around other people and energy. I find myself not really working out. I may do some sit-ups or something like that, or like you do. I just started practicing, mindful yoga and just meditation and just getting into that space. And that's when I need that time. But I have to get into the gym and get around that energy and just feel that energy. And because that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that energy and I'm sensing that energy and I feed off of that. So, man, that's some great insight. So, another question. Throughout my life, I've had a lot of different relationships, and the relationships is, of course, my relationship with my wife of 18 years. and my kids, and then outside relationships. And I've had plenty of toxic relationships. I'm particularly working with one right now where I find myself in this throes of struggle, and it's within my business. So I wanted to ask you, how can I move away from a toxic relationship? Or if possible, how can I I neutralize it to make it not be as toxic for me? Because for me, and I'm just using myself as an example, I'm an energy person. So when I get that negative that's coming around me, it really grinds in on my positivity, and just and I don't want to do anything. I'll be honest with you. I shut down. I don't want to do anything, and then my mind takes it away, and then I'm thinking of 101 different scenarios of how worst case scenario this is going to happen. So how can I move away from toxic relationships?
Okay, really good question. And there are at least two pieces to this.
Okay.
The first, I'll address it from a really spiritual place.
Okay.
Because I do
Great.
have that element to my own being. So I'm first going to give you something a little spiritual, right?
Yes,
and
definitely.
then I'll get something that's very pragmatic. But because you're talking about energy, I, of course, work with chakras and energies and that whole concept, because we're made of light, right?
Yes, we
so
are.
We do have energy. And so one of the earliest things I learned, and this was taught to me, and I never forgot it, when I was in doctoral school, there was a woman in my program who just took an instant dislike to me. I never understood why. Most people love me, but she just did not like me. And I'd get into a room with her, and I could just feel her dislike of me. And sometimes she'd throw me jabs and, say mean things, and I just would ignore it and stay confused. And a woman came up to me who was about my age, but very wise, much wiser than I was at the time. And she said, I've noticed that so-and-so is really wearing on you with this dark energy. I feel it too. Do you know how to use a shield? And I said, what? A shield? What are you talking about? And I looked at her kind of funny, and she explained to me that if we use a shield when we're with somebody who is toxic to us, and actually imagine putting up whatever kind of shield we want.
Okay.
A transparent shield made of plexiglass, a wood tribal shield, a Robin Hood shield,
Yes.
whatever we want. For whatever reason, I picked a tribal shield.
Okay.
And it was wood, and it was brown and gold and had red designs on it. And every time I'd see this person, I would use my imagination to create a shield in front of me.
Okay.
And that shield blocked her energy. And before I knew it, I was no longer imagining the shield. The shield just pulled itself out, and then came to a point where I wasn't doing anything. I just no longer felt her energy. Because I was growing too. I was growing in my self-confidence, my self-awareness, and my realization that I had never harmed this person, because I looked at myself. First, we have to look at ourselves and say, is it something we're
doing?
Criticizing the person or something like that? And if we're not, it's their issue, and we give the energy back to them where it belongs, because they're projecting something onto us, and it's not ours to deal with.
Okay.
And so that's why, if you can, whether you imagine the shield in the spiritual way or just in a really, cut and dry, hey, I'm putting up a block from that person's, meanness or whatever you want to see it as.
Okay.
And just sending it back to them. It's not yours. Send it
I like
back.
that. I like that.
Isn't that lovely?
Yes, it is.
It really works. And then when you look at it on a pragmatic level, so on a day-to-day level, how do we neutralize toxic relationships? Some of them, there are certain relationships in life, like you said, this is a work one, and maybe we can, and some work relationships can be disposed of, right?
Yes.
Some can't be because we're in, say, a business partnership or something. So then it's about learning coping mechanisms of not getting hooked. Because people who have negative energy, toxic energy, they often unconsciously, Ron, go around getting attention, kind of like a bully, and getting a false sense of self-esteem by triggering other people. And so just like a child who's throwing a temper tantrum on the floor, We learn early as parents. You look at the child, see if he or she's safe, make sure everything's okay, and then sometimes they just have to have their temper tantrum till they're done, right? Especially if they're safe and there's nothing wrong. Sometimes they just need to have their little fit.
Yes.
Giving it attention only feeds it, right?
Yes.
So for the person who's giving you toxic energy, feeding them by giving attention to the criticism or the negative remarks, it's just better to ignore it, because like other elements, when we give it reinforcement, it's human behavior. If we reinforce the behavior by giving it attention, it's
power.
likely to continue.
Yeah.
When we ignore a behavior, it's likely to become extinguished. So that's one of the things. The other thing is to let the person know, hey, I feel disrespected when you do this. And after you do that once or twice, if they continue on with the behavior, then you can just ignore it, because they're just trying to get you. So use the I message to state how you feel. I feel disrespected when you do this. And if they continue to do it, then again, that's their energy, their learning curve. The other piece to a toxic relationship, I have so many clients come to me and they're talking about their friends and saying that this friend does this or hurts them this way or is toxic this way or this relative. And I'm looking at them and I say, so please tell me your definition of a friend. The person that you're talking about does not sound like they treat you with kindness, tenderness, or respect. And all of those things, to me, are necessary for a friendship. You can't have a friendship without them.
True.
If you have somebody who's not being... So then we work on reevaluating what friendship means to them. And then as they create an understanding within themselves of what a friendship means, somebody who treats them with honesty, kindness, respect, whatever it is, they start realizing that they've accepted people into their lives as friends who are not their friends.
Yeah. Wow.
And as they grow stronger awareness and stronger boundaries, those so-called friends tend to go by the wayside, because my client would no longer be accepting the bad behavior any longer. Their standards would be higher for friendship.
Wow. So the one thing that you brought up that was just like a aha moment for me is making them aware. This is one of the things I started practicing. And I would tell them, hey, listen, I don't like the way you said this because this is how it made me feel. And then I reiterate, this is not up for discussion because this is my feelings. I just want to let you know how it has affected me. And then I let it go.
And that works really well when we start with the, hey, I feel disrespected when you do this. I'd prefer if you do that instead, right?
Yes.
And then if it's doable, for example, this is a really good example, somebody who's chronically late with appointments, and you say, hey, I had an appointment with you at 1 o'clock. You routinely come in at 1:20 or 20 minutes late. I feel really disrespected. I'd appreciate it if you would either be on time with my appointments or cancel 24 hours in advance. Then if the person chooses, because remember, Ron, this is their choice.
True.
It's their choice. Aside from it being an emergency, if it's an emergency or somebody forgets and it's an occasional hiccup, hey, we all do that. But if it's a pattern of somebody being critical, then once you've brought it to their attention, given them a few times to get the hang of things, if they choose to continue engaging in hurtful or disrespectful behavior, that's where your self-confidence, that's where your boundaries come into play. And you get to say, wait a second, I'm not tolerating that anymore. Or if it doesn't really bother you that much and you can do paperwork for 15 minutes knowing that they're going to be late and you're still billing them for the hour and whatever, right? Then you can continue on if it's not destructive for you. But if it feels toxic for you, that's where you have the right and sometimes the responsibility to take a stand.
Wow. Wow. OMG. This is awesome. This is totally incredible. I'm loving everything that you're saying, and I know the Stretch Yourself community is going to enjoy this as well. So we're going to close out, but first, I want to delve into your book just a little bit to give people a snippet and a preview of what's going to happen and when it becomes available. Guys, it will be available on April 1st of this year, and her upcoming book is Joy from Fear. So I have a question for her about Joy from Fear, and it's just about joy. And I was wondering, people say joy, some people say happiness, and I'm thinking that they're the same. So how is joy different from happiness? And then how can I create more joy in my life?
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions.
Uh-oh.
I'll try and be quick. I see joy as being very different from happiness.
Okay.
I see happiness as being more fleeting. Sometimes the result of an external event, such as getting, special gift in the mail or something outside oneself that causes the happiness. I see joy, Ron, as akin to an eternal flame within the self. And this is how I describe it. It is as though you and I, that we all were born with this beautiful flickering little candle inside ourselves, this beautiful light, this natural joy.
Okay.
What a baby must feel when it's, in utero, right?
Yeah.
Then we come out into the world and life gets rough. I mean, life is not easy. And that little flame, it's almost as if you are a votive candle now, right? And we get layers of soot. And that once clear votive candle gets the soot of life and more soot. And sometimes we don't see our joy. Sometimes we don't feel our joy, but it's always there and it's always flickering. And so if we can calm ourselves down, focus on the moment, focus on what is good and real in our lives, right?
Yes.
You said you're with a wife of 18 years and you have 2 kids and you have a job that you're passionate about, you're good at it, right?
Yes.
That's all joy. When you think of getting, a hug from your wife or holding your kids or, doing a podcast with somebody that makes you feel good, it's like, that's joy. That is joy. That's how we're meant to be. And it's not an external thing. It's that sense. I don't know if you've ever been in the supermarket or walking along a path and you meet somebody's eyes, or like this conversation I'm having with you. It's like, I'm connected to you. I feel you. I feel your energy. That is joy.
Wow. Yes, it is. Man, Dr. Carla, I have to thank you and welcome you and thank you for being on the show. Again, guys, her website is Dr. Carla Manley, and it will be available in the podcast down in the description. She's on Twitter, Dr. Carla Manley. She's on Facebook. Again, keyword is Dr. Carla Manley. She's on LinkedIn, same thing, Dr. Carla Manley. And she's on Instagram as well, where I am following her as well. And she has some wonderful videos on YouTube that you guys can chime in and look at and listen to. She has some great energy, and I love the way I connected with her is I got a email from her, and then more importantly, I went out there and I looked at her videos, and I connected with her on Instagram, and her energy is just infectious. She has a wonderful spirit. She has a very wonderful spirit, and Dr. Carla, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so very much.
It's been a joy and a privilege. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Stretch Yourself, the Empowerment Podcast. There are hundreds and thousands of podcasts out here, and I want to personally thank you for choosing my podcast to help you build a better relationship in business and in life. To listen and download more interviews like this one, subscribe to the channel. It is available on iTunes and Google Play for download. Connect with me socially, keyword Stretch Yourself. Thanks for listening.